Beauties. Today's story is a masterclass in the absolute breathtaking audacity of men who use duty as a cover for their own selfish betrayals. I've read countless stories about women who stay for the kids, women who endure neglect, gaslighting, and the presence of the dreaded high school ex because they've been sold the lie that a two-parent household is always better, even if one of those parents is a ghost. But Sarah got a second chance at life, looked at her parasite of a husband, and said, absolutely not. This isn't just a story about leaving a cheater. This is a story about the devastating reality of biological DNA versus actual rolled-up-sleeves fatherhood. It's about a woman who stopped begging for the bare minimum and let gravity take out the trash. Let's get into it. Mrs. Sarah, Declan's running a high fever again. Nanny Martha's anxious voice came from the stair landing on the first floor. I abruptly threw down the family foundation tax report. I was checking and rushed up to the children's room on the second floor in a few quick strides. 5 Gen-old Declan was curled up in the soft superhero bedsheets, his originally pale little face now burning red with fever. His cracked lips parted slightly as he murmured, "Daddy, when will Daddy be done with his meeting?" I reached out and pressed my hand to his burning forehead, and it felt like an invisible hand was gripping my heart so hard I could barely breathe from the pain. This child had had a weak immune system since birth, and every few days we had to run to the Erbat. His biological father, Carter, that man who could stir up storms on Wall Street, had almost never missed a single golf game, and had never once accompanied his son to see a doctor. "Ma'am, do you need me to call Mr. Carter?" Martha stood to the side and asked carefully. A bitter smile curled at the corner of my mouth. "Call him. On this day in my previous life, I don't know how many times I dialed that number I knew by heart. What I got in return was either being sent straight to voicemail or cold, perfunctory reproach. Today would be no exception either. But to completely give up, the phone rang for a long several dozen seconds before it was picked up. There was none of the boardroom seriousness in the background noise. Instead, there was faint, soft music and a woman's coy giggling. "If you have something to say it fast. I'm in an important video meeting with clients from Europe right now." Carter's voice was obviously impatient. "Declan has a fever again, and his temperature has already gone over Yolinard degrees Fahrenheit. I want a fever again. What the hell is wrong with this kid? He is always so delicate. Can't you just give him some children's fever syrup?" He cut me off without the slightest mercy. "I've got contracts worth several $1,000,000 to deal with here. I don't have time for this trivial stuff. I'm hanging up." Let's pause and dissect this absolute garbage behavior. This right here is the classic corporate martyr defense. Men like Carter love to use their careers as an impenetrable shield against domestic responsibility. He expects his wife to accept that his fake $1,000,000 contracts are inherently more valuable than their 5-year-old son's 102-degree fever. But the truly sickening part, he calls his own child delicate and trivial. He blames the sick kid for being an inconvenience to his affair. Because let's be real, he wasn't in a boardroom. He was at a boutique Obgyn clinic, playing doting daddy to his mistress. We see this so often. Men who completely check out of their actual families to play the savior in a new relationship. Carter didn't want the messy reality of a sick child. He wanted the shiny, romanticized fantasy of rescuing his helpless ex. Chloe, Sarah's realization here is brilliant. She stops fighting for his attention and simply hangs up the phone on the marriage. When a man tells you your child's health is trivial, believe him and act accordingly. Listening to the busy tone coming from the phone, the knuckles of the hand gripping it turned white from how hard I was squeezing. Contracts worth several million. What meeting could be more important than the safety of his own son? I remembered this very day in my previous life. Carter had brushed me off with the same awful attitude, and as a result, Declan developed serious complications from his persistent high fever. And that man who kept saying he was in a meeting was actually accompanying his first love, Chloe, toe atop Gentile Private Obstetrics and Gynecology Hospital for a prenatal checkup. Chloe Carter's high school white moonlight was also the nightmare that haunted my previous life. Back then, in order to chase her so-called artistic dream, she abandoned Carter and went all the way to Europe. And once she left, she was gone for 6 years. During those 6 years, I stayed by Carter's side through the company's hardest slump. We got married and had a child. I had thought we could spend our whole lives peacefully and happily, just like any ordinary American middle-class family. Until a year ago, Chloe came back, and she came back with a huge pregnant belly. As for who the biological father of the child was, she always kept her eyes red and refused to say a word. But Carter was like he'd been put under a spell, taking care of her in every possible way, even using the duty of friendship as an excuse to let her move openly into our villa in the suburbs. She doesn't have any family left in this country, and she is pregnant, as a gentleman. I can't just stand by and let her die. That was what Carter said to me back then. Stand by and let her die. Then, what do Declan and I count as? I took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the anger in my chest, and wrapped Declan up tightly in the blanket. Martha, go get that SUV out of the garage. We're going to the hospital right now. Ma'am, it is pouring outside. Shouldn't we really try contacting Sir one more time? No need. My voice sounded surprisingly calm and firm in the late night hallway. We'll go by ourselves. In this life, I will never again place any hope on this cold, Dan-blooded man. On the way to the hospital, the windshield wipers were swinging frantically. Declan's fever got even worse, his little hand clutching tightly at the corner of my clothes, with tears still hanging at the corners of his eyes. Mommy, am I a troublemaker? Declan's weak voice pulled me back from my memories to reality. Baby, why would you say that? Because I'm always sick. That's why Daddy doesn't like me, why he doesn't want to come home. Tears slid down his flushed cheeks. My heart felt like a chunk had been viciously carved out with a knife, fighting back my tears. I held the steering wheel with one hand and gripped his little hand tightly with the other. Listen, Declan, you are the best little man. This is not your fault, and it never will be. It was my fault. I was too naive thinking marriage and devotion could win a man's true heart. But in this life, I will never make the same stupid mistake again. When we got to the private church hospital downtown, the doctor examined him and confirmed it was a severe viral infection. He needed an IV right away and had to stay for observation. The hospital room was very quiet, with only the monitor making a soft ticking sound. Declan lay on the hospital bed while I sat by his bedside, reading him his favorite Captain America comic. He always said that when he grew up, he wanted to be as strong as Captain America and protect— Excuse me, Emmaus Davis. An exceptionally magnetic, gentle male voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw a young doctor in a neat white coat with an upright figure. He had a pair of deep azure eyes, and the nameplate on his chest read, Chief Pediatrician Jen Julian. Julian, that name was a complete blank in my previous life. I've looked over Declan's medical records. This child's immune system really is much more fragile than that of other kids his age. I recommend that after the IV treatment is finished, we arrange a thorough full-gen body immune system screening for him. to rule out some potential congenital issues. His tone was very professional, but the concern showing through those blue eyes felt incredibly sincere. "Will that be very complicated?" I asked, a little worried. "Don't worry, he'll only need to stay in the hospital for 2 to 3 days. If you agree, I'll personally take charge of all of Declan's examinations." He smiled faintly, and that smile seemed able to dispel the chill of early autumn. I looked at his focused expression, and an inexplicable warmth welled up in my heart. In my previous life, no doctor had ever cared this much about Declan's condition. Most of them were just going through the motions. "Thank you very much, Dr. Julian. Sorry to trouble you with this." He nodded and swept his gaze around the hospital room. "It is only right. But didn't Mr. Davis come with you today? At a time like this, children usually really need their father's company." At the mention of Carter, my expression instantly turned cold. "He is very busy. He has more important things to deal with." Dr. Julian was a smart man. He keenly sensed the coldness in my tone and didn't keep pressing, only said gently, "Then I'll go to the nurse's station first to arrange the details of tomorrow's examinations. If you need anything, you can press the call bell and ask for me any time." Watching his departing figure, I suddenly had a strong premonition. This time around, the gears of fate had truly begun to turn. At 2 in the morning, when the IV drip was almost finished, Carter finally showed up. He was wearing that custom Jan-made Italian handmade suit of his, but his tie had already been yanked a little loose, and his hair wasn't as impeccably in place as usual. He pushed open the hospital room door, looking traveled and worn, bringing in the damp smell of rain from outside. "How is Declan?" He strode to the bedside, subconsciously reaching out to feel his son's forehead. But the sleeping Declan seemed to sense something, frowning his little brows uneasily, turning over, and burying his face in the crook of my arm, avoiding Carter's hand. Carter's hand hung awkwardly in midair. "Declan, Daddy came to see you. He just fell asleep. He took medicine and needs to rest." I didn't look up, my voice so cold it was like I was talking to a stranger. "What are you here for, Sarah?" "What kind of thing is that to say? Declan is my biological son. He is sick and hospitalized, so as his father. Shouldn't I come?" Carter frowned, his thick brows knitting together, his tone carrying a trace of displeasure at being put down. "Really?" I looked up, my gaze stabbing straight into his eyes. "Then a few hours ago, who was it that said on the phone that as long as we just fed him some fever syrup, it'd be fine?" Carter's eyes shifted away for a moment, his expression turning a little ugly. "At the time I was in a multinational meeting with a Europe consortium, under a lot of pressure, so I spoke a little harshly. You don't need to be so petty about it." A multinational meeting. I stood up and let out an extremely contemptuous cold laugh. "A meeting? At that top gen tier OB-GYN clinic in the suburbs, accompanying Chloe there, is it?" Carter's pupils suddenly contracted, and his expression changed in an instant. "Sarah, what nonsense are you thinking about? Chloe is pregnant now, and living alone abroad is very hard for her. I just accompanied her for a routine checkup out of loyalty between friends. That is all. Loyalty between friends." Hearing those words, I practically felt my stomach churning. "Carter, I've endured this for a whole year. Today I'm only asking you one thing." I looked straight at him and said, stressing every word, "That child in Chloe's belly, whose is it exactly? In my previous life?" This question was like a poisoned thorn lodged in my heart until the day I died. Today, he finally said it out loud. Carter was obviously flustered for a moment. Lowering his voice, he snapped, "Are you crazy? How can you have such an absurd suspicion? Absurd. Then do you dare wait until the child is born and get a DNA paternity test? Sarah. He was completely enraged out of humiliation. How did you become so unreasonable? Chloe is a victim. She. What kind of victim is she? A pure and innocent victim. A kind, gen-hearted victim. I took a step forward and stared him down. Carter. Do you dare put your hand on the Bible and swear that toward Chloe? You really have nothing but so gen-called friendly sympathy? The air in the hospital room seemed to have frozen. The monitor's ticking sounded especially clear in the deathly silence. Declan let out an uneasy sob in his sleep. Carter glanced at his son on the hospital bed, took a deep breath, and said in a lowered voice, "Let's talk outside. Don't wake the child." Once they reached the empty hospital corridor, Carter irritably rubbed his temples. "Sarah, I admit that toward Chloe, I really do still have some regrets from the past. But she is carrying someone else's child now, and there is absolutely nothing crossing the line between us. So what you're saying is, if she weren't pregnant, you'd dump this family without hesitation and be with her, right?" I cut him off coldly. "I didn't say that." "Then what exactly are you trying to say?" I felt a wave of sorrowful absurdity. "Carter, we've been married 6 years, and Declan is 5. Are you telling me that everything I've given these past 6 years is worthless in front of your regrets?" Carter leaned against the wall, looking somewhat exhausted. "Sarah, things aren't as black and white as you think. The reason she went to Europe back then was because my father strongly opposed us being together and threatened her by cutting off my credit card. She chose to leave in order to protect me. All these years, I've always felt I owed her." Hearing those words, there was nothing in my heart but sarcasm. In my previous life, right up until my miserable death, I never knew about this so-called moving and tragic love story. Now that I've heard him tell it with his own mouth, I actually feel incredibly relieved, because I can finally throw this trash away without the slightest guilt. So me and Declan, and our 6 years of marriage, we're just substitutes you used to fight against your family and fill the emptiness, right? That's not it, Sarah. I do have feelings for you. Enough. I turned around mercilessly. I don't want to hear your excuses. Go look for your regrets, Sarah, he shouted after me. But I never looked back again. When I got back to the hospital room, Declan was already awake, looking at me timidly with those beautiful big eyes. "Mummy, did you and Daddy have a fight?" I took a deep breath and put on the gentlest smile. "No, we were just discussing some grown gen-up matters. He's very busy and already went back to the company." Declan nodded sensibly and didn't fuss anymore. This 5-gen-year gen-old child had long since gotten used to that man's absence. Early the next morning, Dr. Julian walked into the hospital room, holding a thick stack of test reports. The sunlight fell over him, making his whole person seem very warm. "The situation is better than I imagined." Julian looked at the report and said, "The main problem is still severely weakened immunity caused by serious nutrient malabsorption. At home, who usually handles the child's meals? I specifically hired a senior nutritionist to create a meal plan, so there shouldn't be any problem." I answered in confusion. "Just getting enough nutrition isn't enough. You also need exercise to help with absorption." Julian set down the medical chart, then suddenly bent down to look at Declan. "Hey, little guy, what kinds of sports do you usually like?" Declan was a little shy and said softly, "I want to learn swimming, but Mommy says there are bacteria in the water, and it is too dangerous. Swimming is a really great choice." Dr. Julian smiled and winked. "It works out all the muscles in your body and can make you as strong as Captain America. Once you're discharged, how about Uncle teaches you how to swim?" Really? Declan's eyes instantly lit up like stars. Seeing my son's long-den mist brilliant smile, my heart filled with gratitude toward this doctor who had been a complete stranger to me. Dr. Julian, thank you so much. Just call me Julian, no need to be so polite. He stood up and asked casually, "Oh right, I heard from the night nurse that Mr. Davis came by last night." He stayed a few minutes and then left. My tone was indifferent. Julian seemed to catch the chill in my eyes. He didn't cross the line by pressing further, and only said with a smile, "Then, I'll go do rounds first. If you need anything, come find me any time." After he left, Declan tugged on my hand and said seriously, "Mommy, Dr. Julian is really nice. I hope he can be my daddy." Out of the mouths of babes! But it hit my heart like a little hammer. I gently stroked his soft hair. "Declan, if one day Mommy takes you away from that big house we live in now, to start a new life with just the two of us, would you want that?" Declan tilted his head and thought about it, then nodded hard. "As long as I can be with Mommy, I'm willing to go anywhere. Yeah, as long as we're together, that's enough. In this life. In this life, I will never again sacrifice the lives of my son and me just to keep up a fake family." After staying in the hospital for 3 days, Aunt Declan's condition was completely stable. We went through the discharge procedures. The moment I pushed open the front door, a rich baking aroma rushed straight at me. Chloe was sitting on that ridiculously expensive genuine leather sofa in the living room, wearing a loose silk maternity dress, holding a cup of black tea, chatting and laughing with Carter. When she saw us come back, Chloe immediately put down her teacup, stood up, and plastered that sickeningly innocent smile all over her face. "Sarah, you're finally back. Is Declan feeling better?" I shot her a cold look and didn't answer her directly, just helping Declan take off his coat as I replied, "He's fine. No need for your concern." Chloe awkwardly twisted her fingers and pointed toward the kitchen island in the dining area. I had nothing to do at home these past few days, so I baked some American carrot cake myself. Carter said the desserts I make are his favorite. I saved a big piece for Declan too. I hope he'll like it. Carrot cake? I glanced at the dessert on the kitchen island. Its surface was covered with a thick layer of buttercream frosting, and it really did look tempting. But this kind of move, dripping with domestic vibes, was clearly her staking her claim in front of me. "Thanks for your kindness, but Declan just got out of the hospital, and the doctor said he can only eat bland food. Desserts aren't suitable for him. Sarah, aren't you being too tense?" Carter walked over, a hint of reproach in his tone. Chloe went out of her way and busied herself all morning for this. It's her thought that counts too. It's just a small piece of cake, not some kind of poison. "Yeah, Sarah," Chloe said, her eyes reddening, looking like she was about to cry. "I just wanted to make up for not going to the hospital to visit Declan these past few days. If you really mind, then forget it." Looking at her pitiful white Zen lotus act, I kept sneering inwardly. In my previous life, I might have compromised for the sake of keeping up surface gen level peace. But now, no way. Carter, since you treasure her thoughtfulness so much, then you eat it yourself. I picked up Declan and headed straight for the stairs. "Mummy, me tummy's a little hungry," Declan suddenly said, in a small voice. The moment Carter heard Declan say he was hungry, he immediately picked up a plate of sliced cake and walked over. "See, the kid himself said he's hungry. Declan, come try the cake Aunt Chloe made." Declan looked at me, then at the cake, and in the end he still couldn't resist the temptation of sweets, scooping up a little with a small fork and putting it into his mouth. However, in less than a minute, Declan suddenly started coughing violently. He threw away the fork and clutched his neck tightly with both hands. His originally rosy little face instantly turned bluish-gen purple from suffocation, and breathing became extremely difficult. "Declan, what is wrong with you?" My brain went buzz, and I instantly realized what had happened. "It feels so bad, Mommy. Can't breathe." Declan struggled in pain and began vomiting violently. I rushed to the kitchen island like mad and grabbed the remaining half piece of cake, bringing it up to the tip of my nose. Besides the smell of cinnamon and carrot, I also caught a nutty aroma. I used a fork to pry open the cake inside, and it was densely mixed with tiny crushed nut pieces. "What did you put in this?" I turned my head and stared fixedly at Chloe. Jen, it is just a normal recipe, with some walnuts added for texture." Chloe was so frightened by my look that she took a step back. "Declan is severely allergic to nuts." "Are you trying to kill him?" I roared angrily. "I didn't know. I really didn't know." Chloe covered her mouth, and tears instantly welled up. "Carter, I swear, I didn't know Declan was allergic to nuts. I really didn't do it on purpose. She has lived in this house for a whole year already, and there's a huge allergen warning notice stuck on the kitchen fridge, and now you're telling me you didn't know." I was shaking all over with rage as I turned to look at Carter. Carter was obviously scared out of his mind too, but his instinctive reaction was actually to reach out and pull the sobbing Chloe into his arms. "Sarah, calm down. Chloe really didn't know. She didn't do it on purpose. Right now, the most important thing is getting the child to the hospital." I need to take a deep breath, because this scene made my blood boil. Your 5-year-old son is literally turning blue. He is suffocating from anaphylactic shock. And what is your husband's first instinct? To physically shield the woman who poisoned him and tell the terrified mother to calm down. This is the ultimate manifestation of the White Lotus trope. Chloe weaponizes her tears so effectively that Carter immediately prioritizes her discomfort over his son's survival. He isn't protecting Chloe from Sarah, he is protecting his own ego. If he admits Chloe is negligent or malicious, he has to admit he brought a threat into his own home. And telling a mother to calm down while her child is in shock, that is the exact moment the marriage officially flatlined. Sarah didn't even argue. She shoved him aside and saved her son. Because in moments of crisis, you find out exactly who a person belongs to. Carter belonged to his mistress's tears. Sarah belonged to her son's survival. "Don't touch my son." I shoved away Carter, who was trying to come closer, grabbed Declan, who was already on the verge of shock, and rushed out the front door. "Sarah, I'll drive you there," Carter shouted from behind. "Get the hell away from me," I roared without even turning my head. Put Declan in the back seat and slammed my foot all the way down on the gas. The car shot toward the hospital like an arrow released from the bow. On the way there, I dialed Dr. Julian's private number through my tears. "Julian, help! Declan ate nuts by mistake, and he's in shock now." The voice on the other end instantly turned incomparably serious and calm. "Sarah, stay calm. I'll notify the ER right away to prepare epinephrine and anti-dent allergy medication. About how long until you get here?" 5 minutes. When I rushed into the emergency lobby holding Declan, Julian was already there with the medical team, waiting with a gurney. Watching Declan being wheeled into the resuscitation room, I leaned against the icy wall, all the strength drained out of my body, and slid down to the floor. If I hadn't been careless for a moment, if I'd been a little firmer, and refused that piece of cake, Declan wouldn't have suffered like this. Chloe, Carter, you bitch and bastard. In this life, I absolutely will not let you off." About half an hour later, the doors of the emergency room finally opened. Julian took off his mask, walked up to me, and there was reassurance in his eyes. "Don't worry. The rescue was very timely. The airway has already been cleared, and his condition has stabilized now. Next, he only needs to stay in the hospital for observation overnight." Hearing that, the nerves I'd kept taut the whole time finally snapped, and I covered my face and started crying soundlessly. Julian sighed, handed me a tissue, and sat down on the bench beside me. "Sarah, can I ask something? Declan's allergy history should be clearly recorded with your family doctor. So why did such a serious accidental ingestion still happen?" I lifted my red, swollen eyes and said through gritted teeth, "It was a cake personally made by that friend staying at my house." Julian's brows knit tightly together. As a well-informed doctor who had seen a lot, he had obviously picked up the implication behind my words. "Sarah, if you don't mind me being blunt despite our limited acquaintance." He looked at me, his tone sincere and grave. "A family environment where even a child's life can be used as a bargaining chip in a fight for favor is extremely dangerous for Declan's growth." "I know." I clenched the tissue in my hand, my gaze turning incomparably resolute. "So I've already made my decision. I want a divorce. I want to take Declan and leave that hell." Julian looked at the determination in my eyes, the corners of his lips lifting slightly into a supportive smile. "If you need any help, whether it is a medical evaluation report or finding the best divorce lawyer in the city, tell me anytime," he said softly. "We're friends, right? Thank you, Julian." I knew the moment to strike back was finally about to begin. That night, in the emergency ward, I hardly slept at all, tightly holding Declan's little hand with the IV drip attached. It wasn't until the next morning, when the sunlight shone in through the blinds, that Declan's breathing finally became completely steady. Carter rushed to the hospital a little after 8 in the morning. There were deep bluish shadows under his eyes, and he wasn't even wearing his suit jacket. He looked like he hadn't slept all night either. "How is Declan?" He strode to the bedside, his voice carrying a trace of hoarseness. "As you can see, he is still alive." I looked at him coldly, not giving him the slightest bit of face. On the way home, the atmosphere in the car was oppressive to the extreme. Under the effect of the medication, Declan had fallen into a deep sleep, leaning against the child's safety seat. Just after parking the car in the garage, he saw Chloe standing in front of the villa's porch. She was wearing a pure white cashmere cardigan, and her eyes were so swollen and red they looked like walnuts. She had obviously just cried her eyes out. Seeing us get out of the car, she immediately came up to us, her voice trembling. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was scared out of my mind last night, and I've been blaming myself all night. I really didn't know Declan was allergic to walnuts. I swear, now you know." I didn't even spare her an extra glance. Carefully picked up Declan and walked straight toward the front door. "Sarah," Carter called after me from behind, his tone clearly tinged with displeasure. "Chloe nearly had a miscarriage from guilt last night, and the doctor said she can't be upset right now. She already apologized. So why are you still acting so unforgiving when you're in the right?" I stopped in my tracks, turned around, and looked at my husband of 6 years the way I'd look at a stranger. "Carter, because of anaphylactic shock, Declan was given a whole shot of epinephrine in the emergency room last night. He was this close to suffocating to death in my arms. And your first reaction wasn't to care whether your son would be left with any lasting effects, but to feel sorry for the pregnancy scare of the woman who nearly killed him." Carter was left speechless by my retort, his lips moving slightly. I do care about Declan, but Chloe, sheesh. Shut up, I'm tired. I don't want to hear your ridiculous excuses. I cut him off coldly and carried my son upstairs. In the afternoon, Dr. Julian unexpectedly rang my doorbell. He was carrying a professional black medical bag and wearing a casual shirt and khakis, looking a little less stern than he did at the hospital and a bit more warmly approachable. "Julian, what are you doing here?" I opened the door, a little surprised. I happened to have a lecture nearby, and I was worried about Declan's allergic reaction, so I stopped by to do a follow den-up check, he said with a smile, his gaze clear and open. An hour later, Julian finished giving Declan a full heart Jan and Jand lung auscultation, confirmed there were no after effects of airway edema, and only then let out a sigh of relief. "The little guy's recovering well, but make sure he sticks to a light diet for the next few days." He ruffled Declan's golden curls. "Uncle Julian, when are you going to teach me how to swim?" Declan tugged on his sleeve, his eyes full of anticipation. "Once you've fully recovered, Uncle will take you to the heated indoor pool downtown, okay? It's a deal." At that moment, Carter walked out of the study. When he saw Julian sitting on the living room sofa, his brows instantly furrowed, and a trace of wariness and hostility flashed through his eyes. "And this is? I'm Julian, Declan's attending physician." Julian stood up and extended his hand, polite, but not at all servile. Carter shook it perfunctorily, his tone stiff. "Thank you for taking care of Declan, but our family has a private physician. There's no need to trouble the head of the emergency department to make a house call in person. A doctor's duty is to ensure the patient's safety." Julian smiled with calm composure, turned to look at me, Sarah. "Then, I'll be going first. Remember what I told you at the hospital last night. If you need anything, contact me anytime." After Julian left, Carter's face completely darkened. "Sarah, what the hell has been going on with you lately? The way that Doctor looks at you is completely off. Does he have ulterior motives toward you? I looked at this selfish man and found him unbelievably ridiculous. Ulterior motives. At least what he cares about is Declan's life. And you, Carter, the only thing you care about is Chloe's tears. What the hell are you talking about? I'm Declan's father. Are you worthy of being a father?" I stared straight at him. "Carter, people can change. I used to think my tolerance could keep this family whole, but now I understand. Some things are rotten to the core from the very beginning." Carter froze. It seemed like for the first time he realized that the Sarah who had always waited gently at home for him to come back had completely disappeared. That night, I made a decision. I opened my encrypted laptop and began looking up Massachusetts laws on divorce property division and child custody. I wasn't just going to take Declan and leave. I was also going to take back everything that belonged to me, including the company shares I had helped Carter build up after we got married. Just as I was sending a consultation email to the most famous family court attorney in the city, the study door was suddenly pushed open. Carter walked in carrying a glass of whiskey, his face gloomy. He spotted at a glance the webpage on my screen that I hadn't had time to close. "What are you looking at?" His voice shot up instantly as he stared at the screen in disbelief. "Divorce lawyer, Sarah. Are you crazy? You want to divorce me?" "I'm very clear, Jen-headed." I calmly closed the laptop. "I've already made an appointment with a lawyer. We're meeting tomorrow morning." "Just because of that cake, Sarah, stop being unreasonable. There are only some small misunderstandings between us. There is absolutely no need to go as far as divorce." Carter irritably slammed his glass down hard on the table. "Misunderstanding." I let out a cold laugh. "Carter, the one you love in your heart is Chloe. She moved into our home and is enjoying your care. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a variant of cheating, a betrayal of the mind." Carter fell silent. He clenched his teeth, seeming not to know how to argue back. "And also," I stared hard into his eyes and threw out the most fatal blow. "If I remember correctly, the family trust fund your father set up back then has a clause if you commit a major fault during the marriage that leads to divorce, you will lose control of the trust fund. Tell me, if I have a private detective look into the DNA of the child in Chloe's belly, what do you think will happen?" Carter's face turned deathly pale in an instant, and his voice started to panic. "Sarah, you can't do this. This will ruin the company. You were the ones who destroyed my home first." I stood up, my tone devoid of any warmth. "Carter, you need to have some bottom line as a person. Since you've already chosen Chloe, then just sign the papers cleanly. Don't force me to blow this up to the media and the board. It won't look good for anyone." Early the next morning, I took Declan and moved out of that suffocating villa. Julian helped me find a high den-end townhouse near the hospital with extremely tight security. The surroundings here were quiet and peaceful, and most importantly, it was far enough away from Carter and Chloe. After we got settled, Julian, as promised, took Declan to a private indoor heated pool. In the pool, Declan wore a tiny pair of swim trunks and splashed around excitedly in the water. Julian, incredibly patient, supported his belly and taught him how to breathe and kick. "Mommy, look, I can swim now." Declan waved happily at me from the poolside. Julian wiped the water droplets off his face and gave me a thumbs gen up. This little guy is a genius. Watching the two of them playing in the water, my eyes grew slightly hot. This was the kind of childhood a child should have, not one spent living in fear amid his father's indifference and a scheming woman's plots. After we came out of the pool, Julian treated us to lunch at a nearby Italian restaurant. "Sarah, how are things going with the lawyer?" He cut up Declan's pizza for him and asked me softly. It went very smoothly. I took a sip of lemonade. "The lawyer said that with Declan's medical records and the bank statements I have showing Carter's large transfers to Chloe, I have a very good shot at fighting for full custody and making him bleed heavily." Julian nodded appreciatively. "Nicely done. If you need any medical testimony to prove that Declan's living environment was once under serious threat, I'll appear in court any time." "Thank you, Julian. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have made up my mind so quickly." He looked at me deeply, and there was a feeling in those blue eyes that I couldn't ignore. "Sarah, I'm doing this not just because I'm a doctor. I hope you can understand that." Over the weekend, because I'd moved into a new home, I took Declan to the upscale mall downtown to buy some children's furniture and clothes for the changing season. In a high den-end children's clothing store, I was picking out a cashmere sweater for Declan when a voice that made me sick suddenly came from behind me. "Sarah?" I turned around. Chloe was standing behind me, her already very obvious baby bump jutting out, several luxury shopping bags in her hand. Today she was dressed in a custom maternity outfit and looked smug and pleased with herself. What a coincidence. I coldly withdrew my gaze and continued holding clothes up against Declan. Chloe stepped closer, a few paces, deliberately lowering her voice as she said with the bearing of a victor, "I heard from Carter that you moved out and even filed for divorce. Sarah, actually, you really didn't need to be so impulsive. If you're willing to turn a blind eye, the position of Mrs. Gu is still yours." I was so pissed off by her shamelessness that I laughed. I turned around and looked at her with pity in my eyes. "Chloe, do you think that as long as I'm gone, you can rightfully become Carter's wife and rightfully inherit his family trust?" Chloe's expression shifted slightly. but she still forced a smile. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just want to give my child a complete home." "Really?" I leaned in closer to her, lowering my voice, my tone like a frozen lake. "Then how about we talk about that art studio in Europe of yours that went bankrupt ages ago? Or talk about whether the child in your belly is a bargaining chip you use to blackmail Carter? Or a tool for you to forge documents and try to swindle the family fund?" Chloe's pupils dilated instantly, and the luxury shopping bag in her hand fell to the ground with a pot sound. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm going to sue you for defamation." Her voice turned shrill with fear. "Go ahead and sue." I sneered and took a step back. "My lawyer happens to be very interested in transnational financial fraud cases. Guess what? If the FBI steps in to investigate the transaction records of your overseas accounts, will you still be able to give birth to this child in peace? In my previous life, I died too early and never managed to see through her true face until the very end. But after rebirth, I spent a fortune hiring a top private detective. Just yesterday, the detective sent back word that Chloe had racked up huge gambling debts in Europe. And the child in her belly isn't Carter's at all. She came back just to use Carter's guilt and scam a massive amount of assets to plug the hole." Seeing Chloe's face turn deathly pale in an instant, I lost all interest in saying even one more word to her. "Watch that belly of yours, Chloe, because it might be the only bargaining chip you'll have for the rest of your life in federal prison." After saying that, I took Declan's hand and walked out of the children's clothing store without looking back, leaving Chloe standing there alone, trembling all over. Maybe my warning at the mall had worked, or maybe Carter's lawyer told him that if he went to court, he'd lose even more. 3 days later, Carter finally signed the divorce agreement. There was no way he was leaving with nothing. But I got full custody of Declan, plus a huge amount of cash and part of the core shares, enough for us to buy several penthouse apartments in Manhattan. The afternoon I got the divorce decree, the sun was shining brightly. Julian drove his SUV and helped us move the last batch of luggage into the new home. It is finally over. I looked at the spacious, bright living room and let out a long sigh of relief. "No, Sarah, it's finally beginning." Julian handed me a cup of freshly ground coffee and said with a smile. Declan was on the lawn in the yard playing frisbee with the golden retriever Julian had brought, his laughter crisp and pleasant. "Uncle Julian!" Declan ran into the house hugging the frisbee and wrapped his arms around Julian's leg. "Can we play with you and the doggy every day from now on?" Julian crouched down, rubbed Declan's head, then looked up at me, his gaze deep and serious. "That depends on what your mommy thinks." I froze for a moment, my heartbeat quickening without me realizing it. Julian stood up and walked over to me. Unlike Carter, he didn't always carry that condescending need for control. Instead, he looked at me with an extremely equal, respectful gaze. "Sarah, I know you've just ended an exhausting marriage and you need time to heal, but I don't want to hide my feelings." He took a deep breath, his tone gentle but firm. "I like you. Ever since the day I saw you in the ER protecting Declan, like a woman warrior, I've been drawn to you. I like Declan, and I hope I can have the chance to become part of your future life." Hearing such a blunt confession, my eyes instantly welled up. After going through the betrayal and despair of my previous life, I thought my heart had long since turned to stone. But faced with Julian's utterly unreserved sincerity and the meticulous care he'd shown during this time, that stone was slowly melting. "Mommy, say yes to Uncle Julian," Declan chirped from the side, egging us on in his babyish voice. "I want Uncle Julian to be my new daddy. He's 10,000 times better than Carter." I looked at Declan's hopeful eyes, then at Julian, so nervous his palms were sweating, and finally I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. "Dr. Julian," I said softly. "My probation period is very strict." Julian's eyes instantly lit up, in excitement. He scooped Declan up and spun him around once in the air. "That's amazing. I'll spend my whole life passing your probation period." The sunlight outside the window was just right, and a gentle breeze brushed past the oak tree in the yard. I knew that the truly happy American dream belonging to Declan and me was only just beginning to unfold, and the hell belonging to Carter and Chloe had only just begun. In the first few months after the divorce, our life was like the clouds parting to reveal the sun, quickly settling into a warm new normal. Every day after work, Julian would show up in the lives of my son and me right on time. Not only did he take over the job of buying fresh ingredients, he also personally made a detailed recovery diet. Declan's body grew visibly stronger, and the weekly heated pool training made him into a happy little fish. "Mommy, look." In the deep blue pool, Declan wore goggles and waved excitedly to me at the edge. "I can swim all the way to the end in one breath now. Declan is amazing. He's basically a superhero." I clapped loudly for him from the shore. Julian surfaced from the water, wiped the droplets off his face, and swam over to Declan. His broad palm steadily supported Declan's back as he praised him. "Declan's lung capacity has improved amazingly. After a bit more practice, we can sign up for next year's Community Children's Swimming Championship." "Really?" Declan splashed around excitedly in the water. "Of course it's true. When has Uncle Julian ever lied to you?" He smiled and lightly scraped Declan's nose, watching them play in the water with splashes flying everywhere. I leaned back on the lounge chair, me heart filled with an overwhelming sense of happiness. In this life, Declan finally had a father figure who was truly willing to spend time with him and teach him, instead of a fake back forever in meetings. However, that peaceful life was shattered on a stormy late night. That night, Declan had already fallen fast asleep, hugging his teddy bear. Julian and I were sitting on the soft carpet in the living room, drinking red wine and picking out plane tickets for our vacation to Hawaii next month. Suddenly, the doorbell rang urgently. Julian and I exchanged a glance. It was so late, and the rain outside was pouring so hard. Who could it be? I walked to the entryway and glanced at the video doorbell screen, my face instantly turning cold. Standing outside the door was Carter, but the way he looked now was like a completely different person from the Wall Street elite. In my memory, who always wore bespoke suits and acted so high and mighty. He was soaked through, his expensive shirt wrinkled and clinging to his body, his hair a total mess, his eyes full of terrifying red veins, like a gambler who had lost everything. "What's wrong?" Julian set down his wine glass and walked over to my side, his tall, straight frame naturally blocking me from the front. "It's Carter." I frowned and pressed the intercom button. "Carter, if you're here to act crazy, I'm calling the police right now." "Sarah, please open the door. Just 5 minutes." "I only need 5 minutes." The voice coming through the speaker was so hoarse it was almost impossible to tell it was his original voice, carrying a trembling and breakdown he could hardly hide. I looked at the screen coldly, but in the end I still pressed the door release. I really wanted to see what kind of act this cheating couple was putting on this time. Carter staggered into the entryway, and the cold wind outside came pouring in, mixed with rain. Julian handed him a dry towel, but he didn't take it. He just stared at me fixedly, his eyes filled with despair. "What happened?" I crossed my arms, my tone without the slightest ripple. "It is over. It is all over." Carter painfully clutched his hair and dropped hard to his knees on the entryway floor. "Sarah, you were right. You were right from the very beginning. That woman, Chloe, she ruined everything I had." Hearing that opening line, I sneered inwardly. Looks like the private detective I hired for a huge sum and the anonymous tip Janoff letter I sent to the FBI had finally done their job. Take it slow, Emma Carter. Even though we don't care, if you want to vent here, you'd better keep it short and not wake Declan," Julian said coldly. Carter lifted his head, and on his face it was already impossible to tell rain from tears. This afternoon, FBI agents stormed into company headquarters. Chloe, she never had any tragic life in Europe at all. She picked up a serious gambling addiction in Europe and owed several $1 million in loan shark debt to a transnational crime syndicate. She came back to find me just to take advantage of my guilt and swindle our family's trust fund. I raised an eyebrow, looking at him without the slightest surprise. "Oh, then what about your love child?" At the mention of this, Carter's expression instantly turned twisted and humiliated, as if he'd been brutally slapped dozens of times. "The child was born the day before yesterday. It is a boy. I was originally very happy, but there was a problem with the hospital's routine blood type screening. I secretly had someone rush a DNA paternity test. A beast Jan, like whimper, came from Carter's throat. The match rate was 0. That little bastard isn't mine at all. She got pregnant by some loan shark thug in Europe. So what?" I looked at this once Jan arrogant man, without the slightest bit of sympathy in my heart. "Wasn't this the choice you made in pursuit of true love and making up for regrets?" "Sarah, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." Carter suddenly crawled 2 steps forward, trying to grab my hand, but Julian stopped him at once. "Mr. Davis, please keep your distance." Julian's voice carried unquestionable authority. Carter looked at me in despair. "The board found out that I secretly transferred the company's working capital into Chloe's overseas account. Today they already voted to remove me from my CEO position, and the family trust has been completely frozen because I violated the morality clause. The FBI took Chloe away, and she is facing 10 felony charges of wire fraud and document forgery. Sarah, I have nothing left now." He looked at me like he was clutching at the last straw. "Let me see Declan, okay? Declan is all I have left. He is my only flesh and blood. Sarah, let me take him for a few days, or we can remarry. I see clearly now. Only you were ever sincere to me. Only we are a family." A family? It felt like I'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. I looked down at this man who was like a lump of rotten mud, Carter, when Declan was burning up in his hospital bed, calling for Daddy. You were paying Chloe to her prenatal checkup, when Declan almost choked and went into shock because of Chloe's walnut cake. You were busy worrying about Chloe's tighty. Biologically, sure, you contributed that half of his genes, but emotionally, and in terms of responsibility, you're not even as good as a stranger on the side of the road. Even a biological father should bow out. Julian pulled me into his arms by the shoulders, declaring his claim. Sarah and Declan are my family now. From here on out, I'll be the one protecting their lives. You should get lost and go deal with your own mess. Carter stared fixedly at Julian's hand, resting on my shoulder, extreme jealousy and regret flashing through his eyes. But he no longer had any chips left to fight for anything. "No, Sarah, you can't be this heartless." Julian shut the door. I turned around and never looked at him again. The heavy redwood door shut mercilessly amid Carter's wails, forever sealing him and his utterly shattered life of lies out in the storm. The moment the door closed, Julian wrapped his arms tightly around me from behind. "It is all over, Sarah," he whispered softly in my ear. "You're free." I turned around, buried my face in his warm, broad chest, listened to his strong heartbeat, and closed my eyes with a smile. Yes, it is completely over. We can finally start a new life. Half a year later, in the season of warm spring and blooming flowers, Julian and I held our wedding. To avoid media disturbance, we didn't choose a luxurious church, but instead held a small and cozy lawn wedding at a private estate in the suburbs filled with roses. Declan wore an extremely handsome little tuxedo with tails, with a white rose pinned to his chest, proudly serving as our ring bearer. His little face was flushed with excitement, and you couldn't tell at all that he had once been a frail and sickly child. "Mommy, you look as beautiful as a princess in a fairy tale today." Declan handed me the velvet box holding the wedding rings and whispered in my ear on tiptoe, "Thank you, my brave knight." I bent down and kissed his cheek. "Daddy Julian looks really cool today too." Declan turned to look at Julian, dressed in a sharp suit, and so handsome it was impossible to look away. "Daddy?" Julian raised his brows in surprise. This was the first time Declan had called him that in a formal setting. "I do want to marry you, Julian," under the solemn witness of the priest. I looked at the man before me, the one who had saved my son and me, with tears in my eyes. "I'd be willing to use my life to love you, Sarah and Declan." Julian slowly slid the diamond ring onto my ring finger, lowered his head, and gave me a deep, lingering kiss. At the moment, we exchanged vows. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a beat gen-up used sedan, parked by the wrought gen iron fence. Outside the estate, Carter was standing by the car in a cheap, pilling coat. He looked more than 10 years older, his hair grey den white and his body hunched over. He just stood there watching us from afar, his eyes full of tears of regret. Yet he didn't even have the courage to come closer. I calmly withdrew my gaze. What happened to his life had long since had nothing to do with me. This mistaken marriage was like dust on my fingertips, zone blow of the wind, and it scattered. Time flew by, and a year later, our family welcomed a new life, a lovely baby girl with the same azure, blue eyes as Julian, and we named her Lily. Declan absolutely doted on his little sister. The first thing he did every day after coming home from school was go to the crib to make her laugh without even putting down his school bag first. "Mommy, when will Lily grow as tall as me?" Declan gently poked his little sister's soft, squishy cheek with his finger. "When she grows up, you'll have to protect her too." I leaned against the doorframe and said with a smile, "Of course, I'm the big brother. When she grows up, I'm going to teach her how to swim together with Dad Julian." Declan thumped his chest and promised. Julian, just off work, walked over to my side and naturally wrapped an arm around my waist, watching the interaction between the brother and sister. His eyes were full of doting affection. "Looks like I need to work harder, or I won't be able to afford you 2 sibling swimming gear in the future." This was the kind of life I wouldn't have dared dream of in my previous life. No betrayal, no lies, just plain but unbelievably real warmth. Another month passed, and it was Declan's 7th birthday. We held a big BBQ party in the yard and invited Declan's classmates. Just as the party was about to end, Carter suddenly appeared outside the yard. This time, he looked even more down and down out, carrying a cheap plastic toy in his hand, standing uneasily outside the gate. "Sarah, he came to give Declan a birthday present." His voice trembled as he pleaded. "I'll just look at him once. I absolutely won't disturb you." I glanced at Declan, who was by the grill smearing ketchup on Julian, while Julian smeared it back on him, sighed, and nodded. Hearing someone call him, Declan came running over with a skewer of grilled meat in his hand. When he saw Carter, he froze for a moment, his gaze a little unfamiliar. "Who are you?" Declan asked in confusion. Those words were like a sharp knife, stabbing viciously into Carter's heart. His whole body shuddered, and tears instantly welled up. Declan, I'm your choking with sobs. He couldn't even get the words. I'm your dad out. He is Uncle Carter. I calmly bailed him out. Oh, hi, Uncle Carter. Declan greeted him politely, but distantly, then turned his head and shouted toward the yard. Dad, Julian Dad, is my grilled sausage ready yet? I'm starving. Wrap me up and bury me. Because this is the greatest karmic gut punch in literary history. Fast forward 2 years. Carter has lost his company, his trust fund, and his fake legacy baby. He shows up looking like a stray dog, clutching a cheap plastic toy, hoping to cash in on his biological status. He expects a tearful reunion. He expects the title of father to magically grant him access to the family he threw away. And Declan hits him with the absolutely devastating, polite, unbothered, "Hi, Uncle Carter." It is flawless. It wasn't malicious. It was just the truth. Carter wasn't a dad. A dad is the guy who teaches you to swim. A dad is the guy grilling sausages in the backyard. A dad is Julian. Carter was just a sperm donor who occasionally yelled about being in a meeting. When Carter collapses on the grass, he isn't crying for Declan. He is crying for himself. He finally realizes that respect and love are earned through presence, not genetics. He demoted himself, and his son simply formalized the paperwork. "It'll be ready in a sec, you little greedy kitty," Julian shouted back, holding up the tongs. When Carter heard Declan's crisp, loud dad, it was like he'd been struck by lightning. His legs went weak, and he collapsed onto the ground in despair. "Declan, are you doing okay?" Carter covered his face and sobbed uncontrollably. "I'm doing super great." Declan proudly puffed out his chest. "I have the best dad in the world. He takes me swimming and to play baseball, and he even tells me bedtime stories. I also have the prettiest mommy and the cutest little sister. We're the happiest family in the world." Every single word was like a heavy hammer, smashing Carter's last bit of fantasy to pieces. He finally understood what kind of treasure he had personally thrown away. For a lying scammer of a woman, he had not only lost the business he'd built with his own hands, but had also forever lost this shining son who should have been his. Carter didn't give away that cheap toy. Like a stray dog, he staggered out of our sight in the fading glow of dusk. From then on, Carter never showed up again. I heard that later, because he couldn't afford the rent on his apartment. He moved to the neighborhood with the worst public safety and spent every day drinking himself senseless. As for Chloe, she was facing a long prison sentence in the federal women's prison. A light breeze drifted by, and the oak leaves in the yard rustled. Julian walked over to me, carrying a plate of freshly grilled steak, and handed me a glass of sparkling wine. "What are you thinking about, Emma Davis?" "Oh no, that is not right. No, it should be, Emma's Julian." I turned my head and looked at his handsome profile, and at Declan and the dog playing and chasing each other on the lawn in the distance. Then took a deep breath of the air scented with fresh grass. Rebirth gave me a second chance to choose my life. I didn't dwell on the hatred from the past. Instead, I decisively cut off the mess and bravely seized the happiness that truly belonged to me. That is how life is. When you decisively turn around in the darkness, at the very next corner, you'll always meet the person willing to light up an entire starry sky for you. I leaned against Julian's shoulder and raised my glass with a smile. I was thinking that I must be the happiest woman in the world. That is how life is, when you decisively turn around in the darkness. at the very next corner, you'll always meet the person willing to light up an entire starry sky for you. Ladies, let's sit with this ending for a minute. Underneath the dramatic hospital dashes and the FBI fraud investigations, this story touches on a very quiet, very painful reality that so many women face. How many of us have stayed in relationships where we were functioning as single mothers. How many of us have made excuses for a partner's absence, telling the kid's daddy is just really busy with work, while slowly dying of exhaustion inside. Carter is the poster child for male hubris. He genuinely believed that because he provided a suburban villa and a paycheck, Sarah and Declan would just sit on the shelf like loyal little action figures, waiting for him to occasionally play with them. He thought he could use his marriage as a stable, boring foundation, while he went off to fund Chloe's chaotic European loan shark drama to make himself feel like a savior. But what I adore about Sarah's rebirth is her absolute surgical detachment. She didn't waste time trying to make Carter jealous. She didn't try to win him back from Chloe. She just gathered her assets, grabbed her son, and walked out of the burning building. And then there is Julian. Julian is the blueprint. He didn't come in trying to act like an alpha male marking his territory. He came in as a partner. He looked at a sick kid and a stressed mother and said, "Let me help carry this." He taught Declan how to swim. He checked on them. He earned the title of dad through 1,000 tiny, consistent actions. The biggest lie society tells women is that walking away from a broken family will ruin your children. Sarah proved that the only thing that ruins children is forcing them to grow up watching their mother be disrespected. She didn't just upgrade her husband, she upgraded her son's entire reality. So let's take this to the comments. I want to hear your truths. And you know, this is a safe space. Have you ever experienced a Carter moment? A time when a partner prioritized someone else's minor discomfort over your child's actual safety? And more importantly, have you ever had the absolute pleasure of watching a biological parent realize they've been permanently demoted to Uncle Or? Because they couldn't be bothered to show up. Drop your stories below. Vent it out. Validate each other. And remember, never accept the bare minimum just because it comes in a nice suit. I read every single comment. Stay ruthless, protect your peace, and I'll see you in the next one.